Hey folks, Tim Newman with Soft Light Studios bringing you another daily assignment. Today's assignment for September 13th, 2019. Our assignment today is titled Concrete. Now hopefully this subject won't put you in a gray mood, but at least it has substance. Concrete is the thing that firms the world up. Try to grab some solid images, I'm killing myself today, of this wonder material of construction today. Think outside the form on this one. Let's take a look at some sample images. All right, in this first sample image, here's the wet, gooey substance itself. And, you know, this is really a lot about color when you're working with this, and you're really going to want to think about this in terms of grayscales and black and white. In this scene here, we've got a rule of thirds, both horizontally and vertically. We've got minimal depth of field, keeping the viewer's subject focused right there in the foreground where we want them to be. And we're using a little bit of a slower shutter speed to convey movement in that concrete that's pouring. That's a subtle point here. And at first you think, wow, maybe this image is out of focus, but it's not. The vat of concrete is in focus. That bar in the middle there is in focus. It's just that we're conveying movement. We're taking this from being a static picture to being a little more dynamic. In our next picture here, we got one of my favorite things to do. And trust me, I'm lying on that one. That's to be on my hands and knees in this crap trying to float it out and make it look good. I don't know how these guys do it on a day in and day out basis. Pretty brutal work. If you think about this though, that work perspective aside, really nice diagonal across this frame. Managed color set here pretty easily. This is all about tonality and grayscales, and this is a subtle thing, but if we think about balance in here, we've got some asymmetrical balance here, or even some subject balance going on here with the smooth concrete on one side of the frame, all the way over to that textured reinforcement bar on the other side of the frame. It's a subtle point, but it matters in the composition. Let's take a look at some of our elements of design here. Shapes. We're definitely thinking about shapes here. The shapes that the concrete is making. Form. Now, this could be tongue-in-cheek. There's the form that holds the concrete in place while it's drying, but we're also looking for three-dimensional forms while we're shooting these pictures. And last but not least, and I think you've seen it in both of the previous shots, perspective. Where you're at looking at this really matters. Let's take a look at some more sample images. I love this shot because it really conveys a lot of stuff. There's a lot of nice form work here in these concrete culverts that are all lined up. There's some really cool texture added into these images here too, and that texture is all about the quality of the light and where it's coming from, and we've got really nice leading lines taking us through the picture here. And I think the thing that's interesting here is I would normally not be super hip on this shot because of the blown out background, you know, the kind of flat sky there in behind it, but that flat sky is working perfectly with the color set here in this image. So sometimes exposure doesn't have to be flawless in terms of what's in the background. Sometimes it just has to match the intention of the picture. All right, next image. Again, this is about form, and these guys are pouring some serious concrete into this form. I really like the diagonal across the frame here. I like the intersecting lines that the rebar formwork makes across that diagonal. I think that kind of atmospheric look, it's clearly steam rising up off of this concrete on a cold morning as it's being poured. I really like what that does to the picture, and I really like that kind of amber color set that's across the scene as a whole. All right, one last picture of some concrete, and this is just looking at symmetry in form and pattern, and I think it works really well here. And again, I'll make that shout out to the sky in the background. If this had been blue puffy clouds, it would have been very distracting, but that kind of washed out sky in the background really adds to the grayscale that we want in this image. Let's take a look at some of our rules of composition here. Rule of thirds, we've seen it in almost all of the shots. Balance, that balance can be in the diagonals and the subject balance and the tonal balance on both sides of the frame, and every single one of these shots that we've looked at so far, point of view has been an important consideration. Let's take a look at some of our export specifications. If you're going to submit an image to us for the semi-monthly image critique, please use the guidelines that you see on the slide here. Here is an example at the bottom of the file name for today's date and our naming standard right above it. If none of this makes any sense to you, please go take a look at the Update 01 video, for which there is a link in the description below. Also, next to that link, you will find the upload URL link. So you can just click on that and send your image to us. And of course, there's that red subscribe button out there, which I don't know if you knew it or not. It's a link. We knew, but we need for you to know know. Okay, enough of that. Go out and find some concrete today. Get some great pictures of it and send them to us. And while you're out there shooting, remember, learning equals skills. Practice equals mastery. We'll see you out there.